work message I gotta work on.
Well,
Cool. Yeah, no
the
worries.
recording
I'm
started.
kind of
So.
getting the I'm getting the Choose Your Fighters up right now. Okay, cool. I'm getting the percentages up on my screen as well. So just to have them up here. Cool. No worries.
All right. It's good when you're ready to start.
I'm gonna wait for Ben, right?
Oh yeah. This is like the behind the scenes.
Oh, you're good, Ben? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good to go. 3, 2, 1, and here we go live. Welcome to the Karate Combat 52 betting preview show with myself, Nick Kalikas, of course, the one and only Matt Tyson Karate, and Mallory Woods. So 3 guys that are going to take you inside the betting lines and give you guys our leans and predictions for this weekend's big event, man. It's always awesome to have Karate Combat in our lives. Welcome back, Mac Tyson. Welcome back, Mallory Woods. Excited to have you guys back on. How was your New Year's? And happy holidays, by the way, to both of you guys. Let's start off with Mac first.
My holidays were great. They were over. Oh, New Year's, yeah, it was good. Just spent it with family, drinking coquito.
All right. How about yourself, Mallory?
New Year's was great.
Delay for me.
Yeah, just about a half a tick, I think. Just for you. Might be running just a half.
That's gonna be.
It'll be fun. We'll make it work. For me, New Year's was no problem. Christmas, that was the problem. I was giving the wonderful gift of a kidney stone to have to go to the ER on Christmas night to get that taken care of. I do not recommend that to anybody. I just tell you, don't do it. It's terrible. Probably the top 3 in pain that I've ever experienced.
Brutal, man. Yeah. Holy cow. I've heard. I haven't experienced it yet. And I'm saying yet because it's pretty common. Like
it is pretty common, unfortunately. But it's all good. We're clear and past that. Thank God.
Thank God.
When they give you,
I'm sorry to hear that.
Oh, when they give you fentanyl and morphine in one night, you know you're in some pain.
Holy cow. Yeah. Feel it for you. Well, speaking of like bad news, I guess I got to let everybody know why I'm wearing the shades real quick too. I did get in a little bit of a fender bender car accident. I was strapped in, just, still got beat up a little bit. So I'm kind of covering that shiner, and I got stitches, quite a few stitches in there as well. So I'm kind of waiting for that to heal up, more comfortable with the sunglasses. I don't want to gross you guys out there as well. So not trying to be Joe Cool, just like I said, got to be respectful here, to just try to cover my eye a little bit. So that's what's going on with me, unfortunately. So
it was don't lie, Nick. Don't lie, Nick. Fight Odds has been in Fight Club.
It looks like I got my butt kicked by Pereira for sure. Somebody it looks like it was gross. It was nasty for sure. So hopefully it's
no, the other guy would be worse. The other guy would be worse.
Always.
I don't know about that these days, but no doubt. That's a cooler story for sure. 100%. So yeah, but we'll get right to it. I mean, nobody wants to hear about us too much. I know they want to hear about the fights too, and what an awesome fight card it is. So you guys want to go bottom up, and we'll start with Yarabos Castaneda versus Enrique Valdez. So right now, as you guys can see there, I mean, dude, it's lopsided, of course, with Valdez getting like 90% of the votes right now in the app, which is quite surprising considering he's a huge dog at the sports books, which we're going to get into here in a second. But yeah, I guess let's talk about this a little bit. I mean, 90%, I know it's early. This is going to shift quite a bit because the voting just opened up. Let's, say like it is for the token holders. So I wouldn't be surprised if this flips and we could see it, drastically change the other way. But Mac Tyson, what do you think about the token voters right now?
I think it's kind of crazy that like Yorobis, Castaneda, and Enrique Valdez is such a disparity. I think that's more just because it's a very early vote. I think these numbers will change as things go on. But as it stands right now, I think what the token holders are viewing right now is that they see Castaneda 1-0 in amateur MMA with a knockout win, and Enrique Valdez, which is 3-3 in MMA. But that's not looking at the full picture. Yorobis Castaneda is like one of the top 3 fights, like Robeles de Spain is a Taekwondoan from Cuba who was on the national Taekwondo team. He competed on the international circuit, even competing in the world championship. won silver medalist very often on the national level in Cuba. So he's a very high-level Taekwondoan that has been transitioning to MMA at a young age of 20, and he now holds the second fastest knockout in combat night history. So I think this is an interesting matchup because it's a little bit like the old school karate combat where we brought in more of these point fighters and Taekwondo athletes that might have some full contact experience in MMA or kickboxing and seeing how they do. So this is going to be a do or die fight for Castaneda. I think the league is really looking to see how well he does and see if he can hang in the heavyweight division, and if he's someone that they can help build to maybe one day fighting Sam Alvey.
Wow, I like it. Yeah, like I said, I'm surprised for sure because the hype, like you said, around Castaneda, training with Robelis, like you said, that's a big thing. Competing in the circuit that he did, very high level in my opinion here. Mallory, if you don't mind, can we switch to the betting odds to kind of check out what the lines are? And of course, I should mention cloudbet.com is where it's at for you guys. They're the official sports book of Karate Combat, so that's awesome. Welcome aboard, Cloudbet. We love having you guys on with us. This is going to be an awesome thing because Cloudbet is definitely taking MMA and combat sports serious. I mean, they love their UFC, they love their PFL, they love Karate Combat. Just from the meetings that we've had, it's been awesome. So they're a great group. So I urge you guys out there, if you do not have a membership at Cloudbet, sign up and get involved because they're going to be out quick with the odds. They're going to be this first sports book that has full card odds up. And they are the only ones right now that have these lines fully posted. Now, other books will start showing up here in the next day or two. That's usually the way it works with these lines. But right now, if you want to get in early lines, which honestly, as a sports bettor out there, you guys that have dabbled in sports betting, you know how important that is. You want to get the early lines because they tend to shift a little bit. Once everybody gets on board of training, the steam ends up taking off. So if you get in early line, then that's what you need. So Cloudbet's going to be your place to go. So kind of proud to have those guys aboard. And like you guys can see right there, the URL is on the screen. But I was bringing all this up, though, because look at the odds, man. I mean, if we're looking at this, it's Europe is coming in at minus over 1,000 and the comeback around plus 650 for the underdog. So completely flipped from what we're seeing.
100% flipped.
It's crazy. So what are your thoughts, Valerie, about this fight?
So I had the ability to look at not only the token, where the token holders are going, but I had a chance to sneak over here and look at a Cloudbet. And obviously, I think I want to go with Mr. Castaneda here because it looks like they know something we don't know. And that's a huge number to put up. You don't do that just on a whim. Like, you know what? I like the cut of his jib. I'm going to put him as a big opener like this. So I'm very interested to see how this plays out. And I think just as Max said, if he makes a statement, it could be one of those like we're setting him up to see have a date with Smile and Sam.
I like it, man. Like, we'll see. Like I said, there's no way the token holders end up keeping it like this. I mean, we're going to go all probably. I mean, here's the thing. As far as value goes, if I see the 10% price tag on the app, I'm taking it. There's no question about it, Castaneda. So I think a lot of people are going to kind of follow suit, and we're going to see that drastically shift. So it might not be there by fight day, but, we'll see. It's still going to be a great fight. I mean, heavyweights that are definitely going to come and bang, and there's going to be an exciting knockout probably delivered here. Obviously, we're all picking, Castaneda, I think. I think it's kind of a unanimous thing. It's kind of a no-brainer, but we'll see. Look, if Valdez pulls off the upset, wow, it'll be kind of shocking, but he's well on his way. I mean, he's going to be a threat because he's going to be pulling off an upset over a very talented fighter. So we'll see how this matchup plays up. All right, you guys want to move on to the next fight, which is Harry Gomez versus Jacob Wayman. Now here, this is another surprise to me because as you guys see in front of us, Harry Gomez is favored right now on the Karate Combat app, which is surprising because at the betting window, it's reversed. And again, Jacob Wayman is coming in only at 35%. So for me, it's a no-brainer. I would kind of lean towards Wayman here, especially because he's a chalky favorite, according to Cloudbet, which we'll get into here in a second. But let's pick Mac Tyson's brain. And let me just say this as well. I know I've said it in other shows, but this is so true. Before I release the odds to the sports books, in this case, Cloudbet, I do pick Mac Tyson Karate's brain. He is a human encyclopedia. He knows these guys better than anybody. So I'd really take a lot of his opinion into consideration here. That's why I'm leaning on him with his data and input, because you guys have to hear it. I mean, this guy is, like I said, a genius. So we'll get into this fight here. Can you explain to everybody the matchup here with Harry Gomez and Jacob Wayman?
So Harry Gomez, honestly, this isn't too surprising to me and I won't be too surprised if the token voters favors Harry Gomez, just because he's part of the Goat Shed team, and the Goat Shed fighters have really hopped on to the up only gaming, so they're going to support their teammate whether they think he can win or not. So I think with any Goat Shed fighter, there's going to be some lopsidedness, especially on these prelims, where maybe some of the bigger whales in the up only gaming infrastructure may not even be voting on this fight. That I think that will always have a little bit of lopsided effect. Now, the other aspect of it, again, if you just look at Tapology, which is what most people do, you see that Harry Gomez is 11-2 off the top. Yeah, 11-2 in pro MMA, and Jacob Wayman is only 2-0. So that's a much big disparity. And if you're just playing the numbers game, you're looking at much more experience for Gomez than for Wayman. But that's not telling the full story, because one, Jacob Wayman, 5-time national champion in Muay Thai. And when he fought in his last fight in MMA, was in one championship in One Friday Fights. Now, One Friday Fights is a second tier event for one where not the highest level of opponents are fought there, where they really get their prospects going. But it's still a higher level than I think any of the fights that Harry Gomez has off the top of my head, because that's the other thing that you have to look at when you're looking at these Tapologies is what organizations are those fights in, and even what region it is, because some MMA regions aren't as high level as others. While Jacob Wayman has been fighting in the U.S., which is a very high level of MMA, from what I remember from seeing Harry Gomez, a lot of his fights were more in Latin America. And unless you're really fighting in like Brazil or Mexico is starting to come up, it's not the highest level of MMA yet. It's developing, it's getting better each year, but it's still not there. So those are things to think
record
of. Now,
that's what you're saying.
Yeah, but
100%.
Yeah, but with that being said, he is now training with Goat Shed in Miami, so he's getting to a higher level than we've ever seen before, because he's getting higher level training than maybe what was available to him in his home country.
So he's going to prove quite a bit for sure. He's and then take that in consideration. But if we could switch to the odds page real quick and show Cloudbet and see where the odds. I sent this in around -400, so 4-1 favored for a Wayman, because I do think he's kind of out matching Gomez as far as pure skill. Like you said, his background, everything. I think he's more suited for this type of fighting right now, but I could be very wrong here. And again, it's kind of a competitive line, not too crazy, but it's -477 plus 350. So that's why I was a little bit surprised with the token holders going Gomez's way. Look, the kid's a tough kid. I expect him to put on a fight, honestly, and make it a hard battle, but I still think Wayman's going to win this fight. I just think he's a little bit more skilled on the feet completely right now. So that's why I think you got to give him the edge here. I think he could be a very special fighter in karate combat. Not that Gomez won't be, but I just think Wayman has a bigger upside right now, I think, in karate combat if he performs well. But Gomez is going to give it all he can have, and it's going to be a tough test. So let's get to Mallory real quick and your thoughts on this, man. This is going to be exciting. This is getting more exciting, especially with Gomez now training at Goat Shed, because, like Max said, those fighters are, man, they're red hot. They just keep winning.
Yeah. The proof is in the pudding for Goat Shed. I haven't heard of goat pudding, but still, we're getting close there. But I also kind of lean towards what you're saying for Jacob. There's something about him, that I think that you might see the emergence of someone to watch, like you might become a fan favorite in one fight, which is interesting because you have to have some sort of spectacular knockout, maybe have some press, maybe have some history or a little bit gas behind you. But I'm thinking you might be looking at an emerging star, especially if he comes out here and defeats Harry in spectacular fashion. Obviously, that will help him get over with fans. But he's got the look. He looks like he's done some of the more harder competition. Kind of deferring to what Mac was saying. So that's where my vote, my bet will be at for Jacob.
Yeah, I like it. So it sounds like we're pretty unanimous here overall. But it sounds like Gomez, man, he's going to come to fight. And maybe the odds are a little bit too wide. So maybe the token holders, find some value there, especially at the betting window. If you're a token holder and you think that Gomez has a way better shot than what the betting odds indicate, head over to Cloudbet and get your money down because he could be a very live dog. All indications, especially on the Karate Combat app right now, 65%. That's some confidence there for sure. So, and a lot of times, yeah, well, you know what it is like even the training partners, if they're the ones voting, they have confidence. They're not voting for nothing, meaning, yeah, sure, you're going to vote for your teammate, but at the same time, you know how good somebody is or how underrated they are when you're training with them. And especially if they get their chance to shine on the big stage, which kind of this is for Harry Gomez. So it could be one of those well-kept secrets that they know about. And they're like, okay, this kid's going to go out there and do really well. So yeah, I like it, man. I like this fight a lot.
Very much so.
We're going to move on to this. Is going to be a barn burner too, man. Holy cow. Alexander, you know what? I'm going to probably let Mac Tyson pronounce that last name for us because he said it a few times. So Alexander versus Tim Ha. And this one is definitely a more competitive line, but still another one that I feel like we're going to see a little bit of discrepancy because right now, if we go back to the voting, I think it is it Ha getting the votes here as well, right? Yeah, 71%. So there's another discrepancy here because, again, this line was set out around minus 235-ish or a little bit higher, and we're seeing this line right now at the sports books. Sorry, I know I have Mallory jumping all over the place, but I want to see what the current line is right now at Cloudbet. And we're seeing it right there. So, yeah, it is minus 278 for Alexander. The comeback on Tim Ha is at plus 215. So far, we're 3 for 3 with the discrepancy. The token holders are voting on the dogs, and these guys are favored and decent-sized favorites. Now, again, this is a little bit more competitive, so less than a 3-1 favorite for Alexander here in the spots. But I think he should be the deserved favorite. So let's let Mac kind of pry into this fight for us a little bit.
Can you show the – okay. So – with this, I'm actually kind of surprised that Tim Ha is getting such of the early vote, and I'm curious to see how this line will change on the app because so far for the Karate Combat veterans, they haven't done too well last year. So I feel like a lot of people would have been voting for the newcomer just because of recent history. So it's nice to see Tim Ha getting some respect despite that 1-2 record because those 2 losses were against really tough opponents. His last fight was against Bruno Assis, who's a top-ranked lightweight. And he had his one win was by knockout. It's though it will. I think the reason why some people might be going so hard for Tim Ha again, I think, is some Tapology voting and MMA math, where Tim Ha was 6-2 in MMA and at a very high level competing in the IMMAF, which for those that don't know, IMMAF is more high level than some even regional MMA organizations at this point. Well, if you look at Alexander Crew, I think it's pronounced Kruchik, but I'm going to just say Alexander Crew for now. It just shows 0-2 for MMA record and kind of a mixed result for his professional bouts in Muay Thai. But that's not showing the full extent of it. He actually does have a karate background, and this kind of makes me a little bit biased towards him because he actually has a black belt in my style of karate, Goju Ryu karate. He was a Ukrainian South Region MMA champion, a karate champion, and a Golden Gloves boxing champion with over 100 plus amateur fights. And where you're going to see that is with his hands, they're much more crisp than Tim Ha. Tim Ha sometimes overextends himself, and that's where it leads to him getting some counters. Now, where Tim Ha will benefit is from that more high, because Tim Ha has also a very extensive sport karate background too. I think he's a little bit better with that blitz motion. So he'll be able to mix in that blitz movement, especially within full contact, a little bit better. But it's one of those things where both of these guys have the ability to knock each other out. But I think the line is a little bit more relative to the actual fighting abilities because, again, even though I have a lot of respect for Tim Ha, Alexander Cruz's technique is just a little bit more crisp. And when that comes to that in the pocket fighting, that's going to benefit him a lot. And the fact that they have such similar backgrounds, even though he's had a higher level of MMA, unless Tim Ha has a secret back pocket grappling that's going to be brought into here that we haven't seen before, I think the striking really favors more Alexander Cruz.
The footage that I saw out there, some of his knockout wins, this guy has special power, and you can see he is more technical than Tim Ha too. So I agree with you. Everything that you said is spot on for just looking through the footage a little bit. And I urge you guys, go out there. If you guys have some extra time, but look at both these guys, watch some footage of both these guys. They're fun to watch because they're knockout artists. So somebody's probably getting finished in this fight. There's no question about it. All right, Mallory, this is going to be another exciting one, man. I mean, it feels like every fight is, but Tim Ha with his big power, good experience in karate combat versus Alexander Cruz, as we're calling him on the show. So what do you think here? Again, lopsided, man. 71%, but at the sports book, it is minus 477. It's almost a minus 500 favorite for Wayman.
It's an interesting flip.
I'm sorry, Cruz. I'm sorry. I said that. That's sorry. I was looking at the wrong one. For backtracking a little bit. So apologies for that one. I said the wrong line. I read. So it's minus 278, almost minus 300 for Alexander Cruz over Tim Ha. So that's the correct line. So almost 300. Still big discrepancy between the two books, two spots. What do you think here?
I'm going with token holders on this one. I'm picking Tim Ha. While we're going through, I'm like looking through some of his Instagram and everything. I have a feeling about him. He's got a little bit more karate combat experience. Of course, like, for example, you see Alexander's his first time in the pit, and you never know how they're going to react. But we both know that being or having that pit experience is critical. The pit does not behave like a ring or mats do. You can find yourself in real trouble backing up, and the pit almost takes you off your feet. Like a lot of people have found themselves on the wall. And as we know, just because you're leaning on that wall, you're not a down fighter. You can be subject to kicks and punches and everything else. And right now, where they're not breaking it, if you're on there and kind of stall out, the ref gives the other fighter, like, why should I give you that advantage of getting up? You got to earn your way up. You got to fight your way back to your feet. So I'm going to go with Tim Ha for experience in the pit and look for him to get a win. I also agree with you. I think that somebody's going to finish this fight.
Man, it should be so fun. I can't wait to see it again because they're just knockout artists, and when you have it, it's going to be fireworks. Let's keep it rolling, though. I mean, another good one here with Luis Melendez taking on Donovan Manuel. Again, apologies if I'm butchering those a little bit. But, I mean, this one kind of lines up a little bit more with what the sports books have right now with Cloudbet. They have Luis Melendez favored. As you can see right there, Luis Melendez coming in at almost a minus 400 favor. So just under minus 400, minus 385 right now at Cloudbet. So in line a lot more with the token holders. Luis Melendez, of course, undefeated in karate combat. Man, he's looked great. And, I mean, the sky's the limit for him. So let's get Mac Tyson's opinion on Luis Melendez versus Donovan Manuel.
I don't. This doesn't really surprise me too much because Luis Melendez just been on a high roll. Not one I'm a little biased towards because he's a fellow Boricua. You gotta support your countrymen. But for Luis, he's such a hot prospect, and there's such an interesting storyline here that I'll let Mal go into a little bit more because there was some confrontation within the last fight with Will Esparza. Donovan, for one spoiler, Donovan was actually the one that actually got choked out by President Awesome. But there won't be any submissions in this fight.
Which that went viral.
Luis Melendez is such a...
Sorry to interrupt, but that was
Luis Melendez is such a high-level striker. So I think that this fight really favors him along with that pit experience. Where I could see Donovan Manuel maybe getting some advantage is if he's able to make that fight dirty, if he's able to really pressure Luis Melendez. And he also has the advantage of having Will Esparza be his coach, who already fought Luis Melendez. He knows what Donovan Manuel's strengths are. So creating a game plan to fight Luis Melendez, you couldn't ask for a better coach. While it's more of a mystery what Donovan Manuel is going to come in for Luis Melendez.
Whew, man, I tell you what, I got respect for both these guys. This is like a pressure cooker. Like as far as look, just going out in the pit and competing and laying it all on the line. There's just so much like mental stress and anxiety, everything that goes with it that you got to get over the mental aspect of things as a fighter. And this is just another layer that adds onto that. So I know Mallory was busy at work there. I think you're looking something up for us. Okay, I think I know what you're doing here.
I'm going to go ahead and play this as we talk it over. We saw Donovan the last time. You see him falling up here at the edge of the pit. There's smiling Sam Alvey right there. And they're sneaking in. Nice sink of the rear naked choke by President Awesome, who not only chokes him out, but he keeps Smiling Sam's hand in there as well during the choke. It didn't affect that. Evidently, his squeeze was good enough to complete that rear naked choke, even with those catcher's mitt-sized hands that Smiling Sam has in there. But he was upset at something that Luis did, and we got a different angle of that in some other video. Luis did a little bit of a gesture. You may have seen this gesture in the first Hangover movie by Kim Jong. It is a popular GIF that if you search, that was going on around there. So he took a little exception to that, jumped into the pit, and unfortunately ended up unconscious. So President Awesome said, you know what? Let's settle the beef. Why don't we get Luis in here and get this guy in here? Now, it may seem that the only reason this fight is happening is because of what happened in the pit before, but it brings good story to this in terms of people want to see this, and hopefully the beef is settled after that. We talked to Will, just to give a small plug to our podcast. We talked to Will about this, and Will gave us full details about what happened, how he was feeling, because you notice in all this, you have not seen Will Esparza. He had just, the decision had just gone down, and he was trying to figure out exactly what was happening. And there's Will that's, he's actually briefly going over, saying something to Luis, and then it all just goes over here and this ensues. But it's an interesting storyline because there's not too many times that you get people that will jump into crowds and then they end up fighting on a card. If that's so, Merab will be fighting somebody new every week because he gets into a fight every UFC event, which he's not, defending his title. He's smacking a fan up or whatever they're saying to Merab. But we'll see how this goes. My pick is going to go for Luis. Luis is undefeated. He's doing fantastic. I think now's the time for Luis to really shine. I'm not taking anything from Donovan at all, but if Luis wants to shine and really cement himself as a person to watch, this is not a time to do it.
Love it, man. I got to go with Luis. I think it's kind of unanimous here as well, right, man? I mean, we're all going with Luis. We think now, as far as the betting line goes, it's interesting. There's a lot of unknowns there. Donovan's going to have that chip on his shoulder, man. I mean, it was kind of an embarrassing situation for him. Regardless, that could happen to anybody, I guess, in that spot. But at the same time, you can't blame President Awesome for kind of settling him down either, because he was kind of off the wall there for a minute. So whatever the storyline is, just makes it that much better. I hope they push this a little bit. You think we're going to see some of this like out there a little? Because, I'm not seeing too much of the storyline yet. But again, it's kind of early. There's still a couple days to the fight. Right. I kind of would like to see this kind of get put out there. I think a lot of people would find it intriguing for sure, because everybody's seen that clip. I mean, if you're in the combat sports community, you've seen that clip floating around. So that's what I'm curious about.
Yeah, I was trying to see how many views this actually has. I know it's got to be in the millions. This is a reel that someone's copied, so this is not even the original one.
Yeah, it's got a.
That was the other thing is so many people shared it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, all the fighters we're talking about, you're absolutely right. So, yep. All right, let's move on to another good one. Anvar Boy Nazarov. Again, I'm pronouncing that wrong. I'm sorry about that. And against Ignacio Kaplanch. This should be a great fight as well. Of course, Anvar was the one that just went viral not too long ago. We're talking about viral moments. He kind of went viral a little bit with that Superman punch knockout that he had recently. But I don't even know if we want to, kind of bring that up, because I think he was under contract. I'm not sure what exactly the situation was, but he is a karate combat fighter and he's fighting on this weekend's card. So Anvar, a lot of people were impressed with that performance. But he's fighting a very capable Ignacio here. Of course, everybody, I think the hype train with Anwar right now is going to be an all-time high. When you get a knockout of that caliber, the recency bias and everything's fresh in your mind, you're going to probably have this guy in a pedestal. And it seems like that's what's going on in the token holders right now. At the Karate Combat app, everybody's voting for Anwar. But I think it's going to be a lot closer than this. Ignacio is a very, very capable fighter. And again, we'll let Mac Tyson kind of break this down a little bit better than I can. But what do you think this one? This should be another fun one. I mean, I'm going to say that about every fight in this card because this is a well-matched card. But what do you think of Anwar versus Ignacio?
Oh, yeah. When it comes to pure striking, this is probably one of the highest level fights on the card. Anwar, Glory kickboxing veteran, in addition to that viral moment in Dirty Boxing, which, again, a lot of controversy about that matchup, but still it did went viral and it did up his stock. And now he's coming home to Karate Combat. But he's having a tough challenge that a lot of people are not putting respect on Ignacio's name. And I think that's just because Ignacio is more well-known within the Latin American and Asian kickboxing scenes. But as Lawrence Kenshin, esteemed striking analyst, has dubbed him, he's the greatest Taekwondo fighter in kickboxing of all time. He has fought at a high level and rise against Tenshin Nasukawa. And while he did lose that fight, Tenshin Nasukawa is still one of the greatest strikers of this generation, if not of all time. So the fact that he was able to be matched with him just speaks so much of his talent as a fighter. And the other aspect of this is, unlike Anwar, he has that pit experience. And even though it was a loss against Gabriel Stankunas because more of that grappling difference, he was able to take that experience and was able to apply that for his training camp, which is going to be a huge benefit in him. Now, I'd probably side a little bit more towards Anwar in this fight just because he has had much more high-level experience compared to Ignacio. But with that being said, if the token app is at this big of a discrepancy, you might want to consider putting some tokens on Ignacio for that higher payout. Like if this is close to the 80% range or above, you should definitely consider putting your tokens to vote for Ignacio.
And I'm going to, as soon as we get off the show, I probably will get on I haven't put my votes in yet, but I will make some votes. And my tokens are going to go on Ignacio at this price. I mean, even at the sports books right now, if we could segue over to CloudBet and see where the odds are right now, it looks like Anvar's minus 257. Again, kind of close to where I sent it in. And so it's going to move when action starts hitting these books even more so, and other books start to kind of putting their lines out, the market's going to shift a little bit. So we're going to see, I think Anwar is going to get steamed. He probably ends up being a higher favorite. So if that's the case, I will be putting some real money down on Ignacio too, because I just think this is going to be a far more competitive fight. And even though you look at the resume and the record right now that you just showed, even Mallory put the topology, whatever, he's losing all those fights in a row. But again, it's against high level competition. And he's the type of fighter that I think is going to continue to improve, and he's going to kind of correct those losses a little bit. So this is kind of a better matchup for him. I think he's going to be game. Let's get your thoughts, Mallory. What do you think?
I'm also leaning towards that because one, if you're looking to either make money or also make some tokens, this is the fight to do the better, because I do believe the line's going to be, sure, you make it a little bit juicing, as we get a little bit closer, but I think this is the one to take that chance on rather than to have such a larger sway and risk that. So I would be going with Ignacio as well.
Again, I think the recency bias kind of factors in here. Anvar's viral knockout, man. That Superman punch was nice. Don't get me wrong, and he's got that high level experiences. We know he's faced in the past with Glory, all that stuff. So I've always been a fan of Anwar. I've been following him and actually putting lines on him for years. So I'm very familiar with this guy. Even a Contender Series bout he had. So this guy he's just got so much full contact, high level, full contact experience. I mean, so that's what kind of gives him the edge here. But again, Ignacio is going to come to fight for sure. So it's a dog or pass situation. That sounds like for all of us here in this spot. And we just hope it's an exciting high level striking match, which it should be. Mm-hmm. So looking forward to it. All right. This is from speaking of UFC, we were just talking about Anwar getting a shot in Contender Series. Efrain Escudero, a former UFC veteran and a pretty solid UFC career. I got to say, I've always respected Escudero. I feel like he's never gotten enough recognition and credit when he was in the UFC. He was a very talented fighter. He was a well-rounded guy, but he's facing a formidable opponent here in Luan Santiago. Maybe not as well known, but this guy's a killer. From everything that I've seen, man, 68% of the voters right now, even the token holders are on board. They know what's up here a little bit with this. They're not surprised. And it does match up. We're going to see the odds here in a minute with Cloudbet, but he is also favored on Cloudbet. So let's get into this fight a little bit. The veteran. Okay, there we go. We can see the odds right now on Cloudbet. And we are seeing, obviously, like I said, he is a favorite here coming in.
There we go.
A solid favorite. Now, you got to respect Efrain, so that's why you're seeing it under 3-1 for Luan Santiago, because Efrain, again, he's been in there performing, honestly, better than expected in Karate Combat. He's got that pit experience now. He's a savvy veteran. So he's a smart fighter, and there's question marks still surrounding Luan Santiago. So that's why you're not seeing this price outrageously high. And there might be some value in Escudero as this fight progresses a little bit, but we'll let Mac break it down for us a little bit. So almost minus 300 for Luan Santiago. He should be a favorite here. Token holders do agree. What are your thoughts on this one?
I think it's a huge, finding out moment for Luan Santiago, because personally, I'm on the Luan Santiago hype train too. I like Efrain Escudero a lot, but Luan Santiago just comes in with that karate blitz style, but really refined for MMA. And he's competed at a high level within Brave, was a former champion, which is a very high level regional league in MMA. So it's something to put some respect on, but it's just that explosiveness and his ability to blitz in, but still having that ability that if an opponent comes with a counter, he's able to stop his blitz, mid-blitz, and even lean out of the way of that counter, which is a very high-level tactic within blitz fighting. So it's going to be against more of a flat-footed Efrain Escudero, especially as he's getting up in years. So I think it's going to look a little bit more like his loss with Rafael Alves, but that's not to say that he doesn't have the tools to pull off this win, because he has such a high fight IQ from all of his experience in the highest levels of MMA. If he's able to get in on the inside, even though he will take some punishment coming in, and make the fight dirty, use some of his grappling, and use more of that wrestle boxer style that he brings into Karate Combat, that Mexican boxing pressure, then it's a tougher fight for Luan Santiago. And we haven't really, and it will be a good test to see how does Luan Santiago evolve to that pressure within the pit if he is getting pressured like that.
I like it, man, because again, savvy vet versus somebody that's probably, again, talk about a talent that could be a popular, very possible star in Karate Combat, especially after a performance like this. What are your thoughts on this one, Mallory? This should be another good one.
Also agree that this is definitely going to be a good match, and perusing through both gentlemen's records, the one thing that I did notice difference between both of them. So Luan, his losses have come from the decision. There was an injury, and then also getting submitted. So we can take the submit card off of this, so we don't have to worry about it. So decision, and I guess there's always a potential chance for an injury. Whereas Efrain, his losses are also submissions and decisions, with only one where he was finished by TKO, KO. So, and also look at the actual amount of fights: 32-17, 32-17,
yep.
22-7. These guys have got a lot of fight experience, but I'm leaning towards Luan. I think that, like Max said, if there was a moment to step out and carve your own destiny, this is it.
I like it, man. Luan Santiago, is he going to be able to kind of, I think as this fight goes on, we're going to see if he, his gas tank holds. So he's going to be ultra dangerous early, but I have a feeling that it'll get interesting if Efrain can put he can kind of survive, weather that storm early. He is going to make it an interesting fight for sure. I mean, he played spoiler against Brandon Jenkins last time, not a lot. I thought Jenkins would beat Escudero, because Jenkins has been fighting at a pretty high level overall. I know he's on the skid now, but Jenkins has been nothing but impressive. I mean, his combat sports career, in my opinion, especially in the striking aspect, has been pretty good. It's fun to watch him fight. So I thought he would beat Escudero. He pulled off the upset Escudero did, and he got it. So speaking of which, we should just segue right into this one.
Da-da-da.
Brandon Jenkins is next. And, of course, a catchweight bout. This is going to be an awesome fight, too, because Brandon Jenkins always brings it. He always comes to fight. Elad Suman is a very high-level striker in his own right. I'll let Mac Tyson dig into that a little bit more. But now this is a little bit more close to a pick'em type of fight as far as the token holders go. Again, I feel like if you watch Brandon Jenkins, his 4 fights in Karate Combat, it's hard not to be a fan of his because he puts on so many exciting shows or fights. I mean, even coming from behind, whatever the case is, the guy is just there to fight. But Elad Suman, man, the hype is around him. I got to watch a lot of footage on him. I was ultra impressed. This guy's definitely a special talent. And even though it's a coin flip right now on the token holders, if you're looking at the betting line right now, you're seeing, again, I'm sorry, it's hard for me to kind of see here right now with these glasses on, but minus 435 for Suman. So he's a sizable favorite over Jenkins. And again, it's that kind of technical skill set. He's such a good striker. Not that Jenkins is not, but there's, kind of levels to the striking game. And it feels like Suman is just on that upper tier. And we'll see. I mean, Jenkins can play spoiler. He's done it time and time again. Has enough knockout power as well. But a high chalk favorite at Cloudbet right now. Brandon Jenkins could have a lot of value to the token holders. So again, if you're a token holder out there that voted for Jenkins, it's almost foolish not to get on Cloudbet and bet him as a dog for real money. Because if you have that much confidence in Jenkins, then, I mean, your comeback is nice. You get 3 times your money on return over here. So, this could be a value spot for you guys. I think Suman's going to beat him, but we'll get into Mac Tyson here and get his thoughts at least on how this one kind of plays out and what your, their backgrounds a little bit as well.
Yeah. Elad Suman is a very high level Mac&Mal. He's fought at the highest level Muay Thai. He had a little bit of not the most impressive performance against former top 5 ranked welterweight Yo Miyahara. A lot of people weren't too impressed with his performance, so maybe that's one of the reasons why people are going more for Brandon Jenkins. But he comes in with a mix of a Muay Thai and Muay Khao style, which for Muay Thai, that's the kicker. He's going to be blasting those kicks at a distance. And as you try to close that gap, he brings in more of that Muay Khao style where he'll clinch and really throw those knees and look to sweep or look to break and elbow his opponent. So it's going to be a little bit of a frustrating style to fight. But Brandon Jenkins, while not as a high-level technical striker as Elad Suman, he does have the fact that he has that Taekwondo background, which allows him to adapt to that Muay Thai style a little bit better because he's used to that outer range kicking game in theory. But when he closes that distance, he needs to be able to put that pressure on Elad Suman without getting caught up in the clinch. And if he does get in the clinch, being able to quickly break out of it or get the takedown and start doing his own ground and pound. The issue with voting for Brandon Jenkins, because he does have a skill set where I could see him winning this fight, is that he's been a little inconsistent within Karate Combat. When he's on, he is fully on. He lives up to his name, the human highlight reel. But when he's a little bit off, that's where we're seeing that 2-2 record here. So it's a question of what Brandon Jenkins are we going to see here, and has he remedied whatever has been causing that little bit of inconsistency within Karate Combat? And if he has, this is an opponent ranked higher than him, that we will see Brandon Jenkins go on a run that will lead him to the title if we see a true what Brandon Jenkins is capable of as a fighter.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you nailed this one as well. So this is going to be such a high level striking match. I would think. I mean, Brandon Jenkins might make it a little bit dirty. And let me just say this for Jenkins real quick. I mean, that Giannotti knockout loss that he had, that was such a beautiful kick, man. I mean, I think that would have caught a lot of people on the button. And it would have, been effective. It was just if you guys haven't seen that loss, and I think a lot of people probably, I don't know if they're counting against him because they got faith in Jenkins. I'm just saying that kick could have landed against a lot of people. It was such a sneaky good kick, and you just spot on too, man. So it was one of my favorite kicks, I think, that I've seen like last year or so, to be honest with you. It was one of the kicks of the year for me, in my opinion. So let's get to Mallory right now. Again, the Karate Combat vet, Jenkins. Now Suman, again, he's had fighting in Karate Combat already. And for me, I love Mihara. So to me, that even if it's kind of a weird style matchup, both of these guys, the way they kind of mesh a little bit. So I get it, but I don't fall. I think that was a solid win. If you can beat a guy like Mihara, in my opinion, you're well on your way. So that was an impressive win. Even if people didn't think it was the greatest performance, whatever the case may be, I still think it was a good win. So this should be an awesome fight. What do you think? Again, I'm saying that every time. I'm almost tired of hearing myself say it, but how is this not exciting, man? I mean, they're going to come to fight, and there's probably a very good chance of a knockout here. I wouldn't be surprised.
That you can guarantee that this fight will be exciting. I don't think I've seen a born Brandon Jenkins fight in karate combat. He comes, he brings the energy. It's weird. Some people, whatever you're doing, whether you're a wrestler, whether you're an NBA player, a football player, some people have a natural connection to the audience, and Brandon Jenkins does. He just somehow, without charisma is you can't chart it, but it somehow moves you. This, that, and this kind of like you go back in NBA. All Magic Johnson had to do was smile for the camera, and people just fell in love with him. Half the battle was done right there. They were like, "Can he play basketball? Well, who cares? Look at this. This guy has $1 million smile." Shaq's like that. You just get this infectious, like, man, I root for this guy. And Brandon Jenkins is a guy like that just, if you were to take 10 people off the street and just say, okay, here we go. And they say, I like this guy, Jenkins, right? And he brings it. He knows the danger in front of him. And he says, okay, fine. Punch me in the face. Sure. No problem. I'm going to still keep coming. But I just got a feeling that Suman is going to be the guy in this one. It will be exciting. I hope Brandon proves me wrong, but my pick will be for Suman.
It's hard not to root for Jenkins, man.
You know what fighter Brandon Jenkins reminds me of?
Who's that?
The fighter that Brandon Jenkins reminds me of is old school PKA kickboxer Jerry Trimble, the Golden Boy. And honestly, if you got those shiny pants for Jerry Trimble, for Brandon Jenkins, he would wear them in karate combat, I bet.
Dude, that's like PKA. Like, that's for those people that you could tell. Like I said, the encyclopedia with Mac Tyson karate for sure, 100%. Throw it up.
There you go, right there. There you go.
Yeah,
Jerry Trimble. Look at that. There's some symmetry there.
Yeah,
there's some symmetry. Maybe we will see if we can get petition to get those those
flashy uniform.
Oh, absolutely.
That's pretty cool. Good call, man. And that's high level kickboxing, man. I remember as a kid watching back kicks. Oh, so beautiful. Yeah. Getting back from karate tournaments and turning it on and trying to watch a PK kickboxing too. That was awesome. So yeah, I mean, this is gonna be a high level fight, but it seems like all of us are picking Suman. But it wouldn't be surprised, again, Cinderella story Jenkins, man. If he weathers that storm early and just kind of makes those adjustments. We've seen him do it again. He could be a very live dog. And again, for those apt voters out there, the guys that are the token holders, get over there to Cloudbet, man, and put your money down if you're that confident in Jenkins here in this one.
100%.
All right. Dude, here's something that I think is very intelligent, and I'm going to say why in a minute with our next fight. Tyson Nam taking on Loxby Montalvan. I can't even say that correctly either, and it's not even a tougher name on here. But anyway, with Loxby versus Tyson, this should be an awesome fight. This was a very hard line for me to set here because Loxby's just been a killer. He's 4-0, as we know. He's got so much talent. He's a young gun, and he's only improving. Training with Goat Shed, as we talked about, that's only going to be iron sharpens iron situation for him. So he has all the talent in the world, but you're looking across from him. And Tyson Nam, he's got that UFC experience, the highest level you can get. I mean, he was a solid fighter in the UFC. And not just that, outside of the UFC, he's just been one of these savvy veterans throughout his career that has such high level striking. And he's been in there and outstruck so many good fighters that this is going to be a test. I mean, Loxby is going to bring it, but I think Nam's going to be ready for it. So for me, this was kind of a coin flip type of fight, with maybe Loxby being a very slight favorite. But now that we just saw the early token holders going Nam's way, and this is another one that when I sent in the sports books closer to pick them, I did make a little note that I wouldn't be surprised if the line kind of flips here. So be careful with this, because I could see Nam kind of being a slight favorite here because he deserves it in a way, because again, all his combat sports experience, and even though he's getting up there in age, he still delivers. He could still perform. So this is not a weathered fighter or somebody that's shot. He still has enough left in the tank to win this fight. So for me, I love this matchup. I'm actually leaning Nam a little bit here. Nam, it's just, but it's so close. I wouldn't be surprised if Loxby wins this fight. So let's throw it to Mac Tyson. And let's go. Actually, we'll talk about the odds right now. Again, I set it in as close to a pick'em fight. Right now, it's Loxby at Cloud Bet at -130. The comeback on Nam is in like plus 06-ish. So you could get some plus money value right now in Tyson Nam, and that might not last. So again, if you get on Cloud Bet, if you think Nam's a side, and just gobble up that plus money, because you might see it be -130, -140. That's the advantage of getting an early line, like I'm talking about right now for the sports books. Once you get in, for those of you guys that don't know, like for example, this line right here, if you think it's going to move in Nam's favor, you get in there and you bet plus 06, you're locked in at that price. Now the market might shift. He could flip to a favorite, but you still got that price at plus 06, and that plus money might disappear. So I've done a lot of talking in this fight, but you guys can tell I'm excited about it. And it's an interesting one at the betting window as well, with the token holders and the bettors out there kind of agreeing here, which is a little bit of a surprise because Loxby, again, more of a Karate Combat household name, and he's performed undefeated in Karate Combat. You're looking at it right there, 4-0. So let's throw it to Mac. Enough of me talking. Mac Tyson, what do you think?
Yeah, Loxby has so much pit experience that's going to be coming in handy, and he has a lot of finishes within Karate Combat. So it's a little surprising to see that this disparity, even though despite the finishes and despite his undefeated record, unlike his teammate, the current champ, Arturo Vergara, Loxby hasn't really captured the heart of the fans yet for whatever reason. And that's why he kind of needs this fight with Tyson Nam. He needs to perform well, make this look like a young eats old matchup to show that how high level of a fighter is to capture the heart of the fans. Or if Tyson Nam brings him to deep waters, how well he does in those. But that's the other aspect of this. This is not an easy fight for Loxby, as you have talked about, Nick. Tyson Nam still has a lot in the tank. The real question is, how well will he adjust to Karate Combat's rules set? Now, it's become a lot more similar to like MMA striking with the new rule changes. But however, there are some small differences. Like, for example, one thing that consistently is an issue for high-level MMA fighters that make their Karate Combat debut is when they get to a takedown, they go into instant jiu-jitsu mode and they try to secure position chest to chest. But all that leads to is the stand-up in Karate Combat. You need that space, or if you both end up in a grounded position, you need to be popping right back up to a legal striking position, which is standing, knee on belly, knee on neck, and one knee down position. If you're not doing that and getting off damage immediately, the fight's going to be stand up, and your takedown was just a waste of energy. The other aspect is the pit wall. A lot of MMA fighters have talked about, like, they think they know fighting because, hey, I fought in the UFC. But as soon as they get their back on that pit wall, it's a completely different world. And unless you're really working those wall scrambles or have an innate ability to really adapt to it, that pit experience is going to come in much in handy for Loxby, who has made use of those pit walls and making it dirty. So those are some advantages within Loxby's favor. But again, this is a very tough opponent, and this is a fight where we're going to learn how good of a fighter Loxby is at this point, and whether he has shed that couch potato moniker. Because right now, Loxby seems to be set to become the BJ Penn of Karate Combat.
Ooh,
full camp BJ Penn, full camp Loxby.
Talent. But again, that work ethic a little bit didn't. It is tough, man. I know it's hard to have that discipline to put it in there, but I mean, I hope he does get that part of it figured out because, man, if this is the version we're seeing with him, like only a part of what he can do, holy cow, he's so young, man. All right, so Mallory, what do you think here?
So we've seen Loxby. I love the moniker of couch potato because I think that it kind of puts opponents off a little bit. You're like, couch potato, who am I fighting against? However, I think that Tyson's got a little bit more in the tank than we expect him to. And I'm looking for him to secure, I'm going to say, KO victory this Friday.
I wouldn't be surprised, man. He's KO'd a lot of high-level fighters as well. So, I mean, this is if Loxby can get this win, it is just – I think it's going to put him over the top, as Max said. I mean, this is good. This is probably going to be one of the best, I think, wins over a UFC vet. Like, you know what I mean? That these guys have had if Locksmith can pull it off. Because Tyson Am, again, I think he should still kind of be in the UFC. He's good enough to still compete in that weight class and give a lot of fighters fits. So, but I'm glad Karate Combat has it because, you know, again, it only makes the roster that much stronger because a lot of these guys that if they can get through somebody like that, they're well on their way. So, all right, we'll keep it rolling. We're coming into, again, some more amazing fights. This one's going to be another interesting one and a closer line, but not at, holy cow. Mac Tyson, looking at this, I know you're kind of thinking, what the heck is going on here? Because I'm looking at Lucas Martin's 83% over Elias Kamzin, 17%. And why I'm saying that, this is, look, at Cloudbet, it's matched a little bit closer. Kamzin is actually the favorite, though, a slight favorite. He's coming in, I believe, at around minus 180. If you can flip to that screen, he was a slight favorite. Under minus 200 is Kamzin here in this spot. So we can find him here. And let's see where he's at here. Okay. So, yeah. I mean, he's sitting here at around what minus 162 is what Cloudbet has him right now. So competitive line for sure, but Kamzin is the favorite over Lucas Martins. Now, Lucas Martins, another one of these guys that's a former UFC veteran, of course, and he's got all sorts of high-level combat sports experience, of course, MMA experience, whatever the case may be. He's a knockout guy. He's a fun guy to watch. I used to really enjoy watching him strike in the cage. Offensively, he was gifted. But defensively, there were some flaws there, and he was a little bit chinny at times as well. And Kamzin, I think, is going to be testing that chin quite a bit. That's why he's a slight favorite here. But Lucas Martin's ultra dangerous. So this is going to be a very highly competitive fight that could probably realistically end either way. And another one I think is going to be end in knockout for sure. I don't think these guys are going the full three. But let's leave it, throw it to Mac Tyson here and see what he thinks.
Yeah, the token vote was kind of shocking because, like, I'd say it should be more closer to a pick'em fight because I understand that Lucas Martin. I think what's going on is Lucas Martin, former Brave champion, 4-3 in UFC. People just see that Lucas Martins has fought at such a higher level, but as you said, there have been some vulnerabilities for Lucas Martins, and as of late for Elias Kamzin, he's been getting a lot of ground and pound finishes lately. So if he's able to adapt to that Karate Combat style of grappling really well, that could lead to some issues for Lucas Martins. Now, I'd say because of those higher level experience, Lucas Martins should be the slight favorite in this fight, but I'd say this is a pretty evenly matched fight. Even though I want to put my tokens on Martins at 17%, that's very tempting to put my tokens on his opponent.
All right, and thank you for the zoom in there, Mallory, as well. That helps me, especially right now.
I don't know why
situation going on here as well. But yeah, no, dude, this is so what we're seeing here. Plus 129, Lucas Martins. Again, another one of these situations where if you're a token holder and this is lopsided. I mean, you're talking about minus 400, minus 500 odds at the sports books is what these guys think this line should be. If that's the case, head over to Cloudbet, open an account, and put your money down on Lucas Martins. He's plus 129, and it sounds like that line's not going to last. If Mac Tyson thinks that Lucas Martin should be a slight favorite, then there's going to be more people that probably think that he should be a slight favorite. So this line probably drops closer to a pick'em is my guess now after this conversation of what we said. So again, get on board and get an early line. As you said, Mallory just put you saw that URL there he put up there. So sign up at Cloudbet. I think there is some value there, man. I mean, if that's based on what you guys are saying right now, then the line's probably overshot a little bit, but I still trust, I think the durability from Kamzin a little bit more in this case here. And I think in my opinion, he should be the slight favorite, but I could be very wrong here. I wouldn't be surprised at all if I am. Mallory, what are your thoughts? Lucas Martin's a former UFC vet versus kind of an unknown fighter to most people in Elias Kamzin.
So one of the things I actually like to do is you go back in and look at these records and everything, and I saw something here that was a loss, right? But it got my attention. Okay, Erwin Barboza, UFC FX. That is a long time ago. I remember when you were like UFC on FX, like, oh great, we could actually watch the UFC on regular cable and everything. That was a while ago. But what that does show you is that the man has got plenty of experience. As we can you're just scrolling back up here, and sure, there's some losses mixed in and everything. I think, and I agree with you both that yes, this is going to be kind of a pick 'em, but I like Lucas closing that to almost a razor thin where you get the same amount, 150, 150 on both sides. And I would be picking Lucas to win for me.
Okay, so dog value these guys. I'll put so this is probably one we don't, but again, I wouldn't be surprised if you guys are right. And you guys are chasing dog value here with the Martins pick. So I'll go Comzen. These other two gentlemen are going against me here, which they could be right. Like I said, I think it's going to be fireworks either way. So another good one. But here we go. Now we're going to be talking about the guy that's breaking all the records and the guy everybody wants to see. You know what? Again, it's another sad thing because the UFC could have. I think he's a very talented fighter. Where Robelis Despain, again, if I'm pronouncing that wrong, I apologize. He should kind of still be in the UFC, but he got exposed as far as his ground game goes, and that ground game didn't quite cut it. He wasn't up to par with some of the higher level UFC heavyweights there. Now, if this was only striking in the UFC, he can hang in there with anybody in the UFC roster for sure. I mean, I would put him in there. He's such a talented fighter. So this was an amazing grab from Karate Combat, and he already delivered. I mean, having the fastest knockout highlight reel, a knockout that went viral. So if you haven't seen it, just Google the gentleman's name, you'll see it. It was, I think, 6 seconds, 7 seconds knockout. But he's facing another guy that has knockout power and can definitely test him in Marcus, again, Bragaggio. Again, I'm butchering that as well. But Marcus versus Robelis here in this matchup. Robelis going to be a huge favorite. Of course, 95% of the token holders are seeing him come through. I'm not surprised. I mean, I had to send this at least minus 1,000 or above because Robelis is just that much of a talented striker with that power, and he's only getting better. That's a crazy thing. It feels like he's getting this real-time, full contact combat sports experience, whether it's with the UFC, whether now it's in Karate Combat. From his Olympic Taekwondo background, it's impressive to see what he's doing, and he's only going to get better. So enough again for me talking. Let's throw it over Mac Tyson Karate. Robelis versus Marcos. What do you think?
It's kind of funny that you said if it was striking only, that he could have hanged with anybody in the UFC, because that's what he gets with Karate Combat. Because even though there is that grappling aspect of Karate Combat, it's pretty much all the basic grappling aspects that any MMA striker needs, because there's that clinch work, and when it gets to that ground, for the takedowns, again, when it goes to ground fighting, there is no real ground fighting in Karate Combat outside of scrambles. So once it settles down once you get settled down onto your back, like that's where Robelis really struggled with MMA, that jiu-jitsu aspect that doesn't exist here. So his entire striking experience outside of Taekwondo has been built around on this evolved rule set for Karate Combat. And I can see why the token holders are voting so lopsided for Robelis, especially after that quickest knockout in UFC in Karate Combat history, and then all the knockouts he had in MMA, including his debut UFC fight, which I believe is under 5 minutes in total.
Yeah, I think
so.
Right.
It's not even a round.
Yeah. Yep. 100%.
So I view, and the other aspect is that Marcos has fought at heavyweight before, but he's fought a lot more within light heavyweight. From Tapology, it says that he's the number 5 ranked MMA light heavyweight in Latin America, Brazil, etc., and 17-7 in pro MMA. So those are the aspects that's really going to play into Marcos's favor, is that high level MMA experience and more MMA experience than Robelis ever had. Where in Robelis's career, there might have been some favorable matchmaking just because of how exceptional he was as a fighter. So he's never really been fully tested.
Yeah, no, I mean, these lines are probably, look, a lot of these chalky lines that we're seeing, sometimes they get put out there, they're overinflated more times than not. Look at the line right now, minus 1429 for Robelis, the comeback on Marcos, plus 775. You're talking about a guy that is capable of Marcos. Again, even if Robelis, I feel like he is a top-tier heavyweight striker, one of the best on the planet right now, period, still. But you have to lay the chalk. That means you have to risk. For these people out there that might be tuning in, not familiar with the betting odds, that means you really have to lay So you have to put down $1,429 to win $100. If Robellis wins, you get that $100. If not, you lose $1,429.
That's a hard way to earn $100.
That's how much confidence the voters and the sports books have in Robellis winning this fight. So monster favorite, monster guy. I mean, this guy's huge. I mean, and just his everything about him. I mean, he again star in the making for sure. I think he's already kind of a star, to be honest with you. I mean, he's again. I just can't imagine with another highlight reel knockout where he goes next. But let's get Mallory's thoughts on this one too.
I gotta say, I'm throwing in with you guys as well. I mean, that very quick knockout was impressive, and the guy is just as big as a tank, man. And it's really good when you see heavyweights that are moving like that. And obviously, you have sitting up at the top of the mountain a young gentleman named Smiling Sam, who does not move like that. Smiling Sam is more directly of a tank. He's going to be methodical and he's going to deliver damage. But Rubens is throwing kicks. He's got movement. That's rare for a big man to see. Like everyone talked about how Cyril Gane moves different than a heavyweight never there. So Rubens has got some of that movement in there, and it can be handy when you get a guy that's just maybe a beat and a half slower than you in that heavyweight division. Of course, we always know that all it takes is one shot, and the odds are forever changed. But I think I'm going to agree with you that, I mean, look at the token holders, look at the odds. This is going to be, pretty big. I think this line's going to grow. I think it's going to get.
It probably will grow. It probably will grow for sure. It seems like it's climbing out there at some sports books already, because there are some sports books that have this lineup. The market's starting to build a little bit more too. Even though Cloudbet has all the fights, there's a few lines for this fight floating around out there, and it seems like it's climbing as we speak. So I wouldn't recommend, honestly, to nobody, even though I think Robellis is obviously going to win. I wouldn't tell anybody to lay $1,400. Even the app, it's kind of a stay away from. Unfortunately, just watch it, have fun with it. You're probably going to see
unless you're
Robellis winning by knockout. What's that?
Unless you're Drake.
Sorry, yeah, exactly.
Drake.
Unless you're Drake.
No.
Unless you're Drake and you're betting on him. Yeah, exactly. Like Drake, yeah, he is one of those guys that probably would. Then you got to kind of worry about the jinx factor coming in with Drake.
Yes.
That's another story. No, but yeah, I mean, so this is one of those that you just have to just kind of watch it play out. Don't go to the bathroom because it's probably going to be over pretty quick. I mean, that's what Robellis does time and time again. So I guess enough chat. But you know what? We have another chalky one going next, but it's a popular fight, man, because Aline Pereira, of course, that's the great Alex Pereira, the UFC champion, the dominant champion. His sister, as we all know, and she's coming off impressive karate combat debut. She got a knockout win in similar fashion to her brother, how he's been destroying people as well. She's facing a last-minute replacement fighter in Amanda Torres. Amanda Torres stepping in here on super short notice to take this fight on here. But you know what? She's got some experience. She's a tough girl. I was actually impressed looking into her a little bit, meaning that she's been in there with a lot of quality fighters in the MMA world, whatever the case may be. And she's got a lot of high-level full contact experience. So again, that kind of goes a long way, because she's not going to be a fish out of water. She's not going to be shell-shocked. It doesn't matter who she goes in there, I think, in fights. She's going to be mentally ready and confident that she can perform. And she seems like she's another one of these girls, even though this is super short notice, that a lot of people train, they're always in the gym. So for me, at least from the outside looking in, it feels like she's one of those fighters that's going to be more prepared than people think, even if it's super short notice. And I actually think it's a tougher fight than her original opponent, Luna, for Pereira, to be honest with you. I think this is going to be a little bit tougher, but still probably the same result. I mean, Aline Pereira is she's amazing. She's only getting better in front of her eyes too, it seems like. And now, though, you have Alex Pereira kind of coaching her in her ear all the time. The confidence is just through the charts there. And this is her backyard. I mean, striking is what these Pereiras do the best. So, of course, she's going to be a big favorite amongst the fans, the token holders. I think they had her almost 90%. We saw 88%. And she's going to also be a big favorite at the betting window. She's minus 1,000 at Cloudbet. She's 88% there, as you're seeing on the screen with the token holder. So, no surprise, a big favorite here. She's probably going to get it done. And more than likely, she's going to get it done. I think it's towards the top, I believe, is where they put it.
Yeah,
if I'm
it's
not mistaken.
floating down here.
Yeah, so plus 600 on if you like Torres as the underdog. Again, a savvy, experienced veteran, but I just think Aline Pereira is going to be too much. Might be a little bit closer at times, and maybe Torres is going to have her moments, but chalky line. So I guess enough said again. Mac Tyson, what do you think? I know that you're obviously very impressed with Aline Pereira, but what can you tell us about this fight?
Well, yeah, no, Aline Pereira is one of the future superstars of Karate Combat. Within her debut, she had one of the most viral knockouts in Karate Combat history with that famous Chama left hook of the Pereiras. She has her brother always in her corner. Alex Pereira will be in her corner for this fight. She is the one and only student of Alex Pereira, so that's why they fight exactly the same. And she fights at such a high level. The knockout power isn't exactly the same, but she still hits hard. When she hits someone, they don't want to move forward. That's that oh my god power that she has. So even though she might not be able to knock out with one punch all the time like Alex, it still is a huge factor in this. But I will say that I feel like a lot of people are going to look at Amanda Torres' Tapology and not put a lot of respect with it because it's not the best record. But there's one aspect that isn't being shown on that Tapology, which is that this is within MMA, but she was actually a high-level kickboxer at the amateur level. She was a South American kickboxing champion in Waco, 3-time kickboxing champion in Brazil, the national champion, and a 2-time Brazil Copa champion. So she has some high level kickboxing experience. Plus, while she didn't win those professional boxing fights, those were still good experiences for her to work her hands and work the defense for having strikes coming at her. So maybe she'll be able to evade that famous left hook a little bit better than some of the other girls that come from MMA and fight Aline Pereira. So again, the short notice makes this a difficult fight to put tokens on Amanda Torres. But if this starts going in the 90%, maybe consider if you just want to see what happens and root for the underdog. But this is a fight that very highly favors Aline Pereira. I don't disagree with the sports books for making her a chalky favorite. But again, like you said, a little bit better than what these numbers are showing.
Yeah, I agree. Just between you and I know we didn't get a good a lot of time to talk about this replacement fight here. So I'm just curious, do you think it is a tougher fight than Luna was for her, or do you not? Do you disagree? Like,
I think
maybe because maybe I'm wrong.
I think it's a tough. I think it's a tougher. I think it's a tougher fight that if they both had a full camp. Without the fuller camp, it's hard to say. I don't know what shape Amanda Torres.
That's fair. Yeah, because that's kind of how I felt when I went through this fight. I was like, man, this is kind of because that's what you get sometimes, man. You get a replacement fighter, and sometimes it ends up being a tougher fight. Yeah. So you're like, holy cow, I was preparing for this person. Now I got to fight somebody else that's willing to step in. And they got that warrior mentality. If they're willing to step in on this short notice, man, they're fighters for sure.
Win. Exactly.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So start over to Ballard. I mean, how could you not be impressed with Pereira, man? The Pereira family, holy cow, amazing striking.
Well, she came in and she made a statement. It was great to have Big Brother Alex in a corner. But, I mean, did you see the way that place exploded when they did? And I think that's one of our highest rated reels for this betting show, that little clip we had of her. Got there like 50,000 views, which I had to look at the numbers twice. Like, wait a minute, that couldn't be it. But there were a lot of people that were waiting for arrival. So think about it. You make your first show. This is great. Your second show, your co-main event. So, things are going up for her, and she will be my pick to win on Friday.
Good call. That's true, man. She's already co-main eventing, so like Mac Tyson said, she's just a star, 100%. Sorry, I know we've been long-winded a little bit myself, especially here. So we can move on to the main event, which, in my opinion, is such a great fight again because it's intriguing to me. I mean, this is for the interim lightweight title. Let's be clear. Am I correct, Mac Tyson? It's not for the actual lightweight title because Rocha is still the actual lightweight champion. But this is for the interim fight, for the interim title, which, again, it's kind of like right now I feel like, I mean, it's a kind of a little tournament right now. Well, obviously, if Rind beats Scrivers here in this fight, then he's going to fight for the undisputed title. Or if Scrivers beats Rind, then he'll get that rematch with Rocha probably as well. But right now it seems like this is close to what the betting markets are. They're almost lined up here. 66% for Rind and, of course, 34% for Scrivers. Again, Shabazz Shazib, I'm sorry, Shazib Rand versus Edgar Scrivers. Again, apologies for mispronunciation if that's the case here, but 66% on the app, 34%. Scrivers, the underdog here. Dude, Rand has looked so good. I mean, the size, look, you can tell he's 6-0. He's everybody Karate Combat's put in front of him, he's dismantled. And the thing is, with the skill that he has to go along with his length, I don't even know how the guy makes weight, man. He's such a big guy, too. He's just a hard matchup for both these guys, for most fighters out there. But if anybody could kind of figure out the puzzle, it's such a smart fighter, in my opinion, like Scrivers. So for me, this is a test for sure. This is going to tell me how legit Rind is. And not that he's not. All his wins have been fantastic. But if he can get through Scrivers in the fashion that he's gotten through the rest of the people, holy cow, I'm going to be super impressed. Mac Tyson, what do you think about this one?
I think you're right. I think a lot of people are newer fans. They didn't get to really see Edgar Scrivers when he was considered the pound-for-pound number one fighter in Karate Combat. And there's also that old school versus new school with Shazib being an interim champion under the Evolved rule set and Edgar Scrivers being the first Karate Combat champion. But I think that storyline works a little bit better for what we'll see in KC53 with Arturo Vergara versus Jesus Lopez, because Edgar Scrivers, he fought in MMA, had a lot of experience in MMA in addition to some sport karate. And he's just been, what he's basically been doing is just focusing on his striking from that MMA base for all these years since season 1 of Karate Combat back in 2019. So he's been working his striking for a long time. Now, I think the other aspect that why a lot of people are not voting for Shazib is Shazib's just been on such a hot roll. And Edgar Scrivers in his last fight had that controversial cut. And he wasn't doing too great in that first round. But a lot of people don't realize is that Edgar Scrivers is a very slow starter. He starts off slow, and then he just picks it up round after round until he's drowning you. And that's what is really the question is, how is Shazib going to handle that pressure, handle that grappling onslaught that he's been preparing for with a world championship wrestler, because he's expecting Shazib to Shazib is expecting Edgar Scrivers to grapple with him. So that is something that they're looking towards. But while I can see a scenario where Shazib gets the knockout in the first round, I'd say that is my least favorite scenario to play out, because I want to see that vintage Edgar Scrivers really challenge Shazib, and so we can see how good Shazib is. A lot of the storyline for this fight has been this is a big challenge for Scrivers for Shazib, but I'd say it's the other way around. Edgar Scrivers has been fighting the best of the best in Karate Combat. Shazib Rin got challenged with Bruno Souza, but now he's fighting someone that is maybe even on equal level with the current champion, Luis Rocha. So it's a huge challenge for him as well. And we're going to be able to see just how good Shazib Rind really is against Edgar Scrivers. So I hope we get to see that vintage Edgar Scrivers. But that makes it also kind of hard to vote for the Bear Slayer, because we didn't really get to see much in his last fight.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. It was stopped due to a cut, correct? So it was one of those situations where, a lot of people wanted to see that fight kind of play out a little bit and see where it's at. But I think, again, all that's recency bias kind of baked in the equation here a little bit too, because a lot of people aren't giving Scrivers that much respect. And to me, when Mac Tyson Karate said that he was the number one pound for pound fighters, he was the most impressive to me all overall, because he knew how to pick grapple. Obviously, he had that sport karate background that he ended up making it work really well for him. And again, kind of the movement that it takes in sport karate, it just all the intelligence, you could just see it working in real time. And so he's one of the highest level IQ guys that I've seen kind of in the pit. So that's why it's going to be ultimate test. Even when he fought Varga, I thought Varga was going to beat him, to be honest with you. He adapted. That game plan that he had against Varga was just fantastic. I mean, he deserved to win that fight. And you're talking about one of the best, I thought, coming in from Glory, whatever the case is, the high-level kickboxing. I thought Varga was going to make a run and probably hold on to that strap, but it was guys like Scrivers that kind of dethroned him and stopped him in his tracks. Maybe I'm not saying he won't get there, but that's how intelligent this guy is. So he could possibly play spoiler again against Rind. Let's see. I got to see what Mac or I'm sorry, what Mallory Woods thinks about this fight, because you heard what Mac thought, you heard what I thought, Mallory. I mean, what are your thoughts? This is going to be probably one of the fights of the year for sure. However it plays out, it should be a good one.
So there's a lot of hype behind Shazib. Of course, you see right here, he's favored in the odds. But one of the things that everybody has been wanting to test, or at least the question is Scrivers has that wrestling type of style. So Shazib, of course, has been working with wrestlers. I think that's one of the things you fear so much. You know, you go up against a talented grappler and like, I don't want to get taken down to the ground. I don't want to get submitted. And you worry about that so much that you forget that there's another element involved in terms of striking. I'm picking Scrivers, and I'm picking him to win by knockout. Surprising knockout.
Ooh.
Therefore, setting up the trilogy of Luis Roca and Edgar Scrivers again. Is it quad?
A sneaky 4. Yeah.
Right?
Surprising. Yeah.
Quad. I'm sorry, quad. But
but
then
everybody would love to see it. It's one of those quads that you would love to see. 100%.
Exactly. And that makes a great argument of case that like says, hey, you got to give this, you got to interim. These two men are very well familiar with themselves, and I wouldn't mind seeing that for the 4th time.
The only thing is, Brent could be one of those special guys that, like, seriously, just ends up being on another level. I mean, that's the thing. We could see something special with his performance this weekend as well. So that's why, for me, it's a head scratcher. I mean, I find it hard to lay the chalk.
It's true.
Yeah, it's hard for me to
it's true what you're saying. It's like,
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, Edgar Scrivers is such a talented fighter, and he's so creative in the pit. But Shazay Bryn is such a unique talent that, like, he's evolved so quickly in Karikama. And even if he did lose this fight, it wouldn't be the last we saw of him, because 100%. He's still developing. So it just means that we'll see a better Shazab in the future. It's just a question of who's better right now. And I feel like a lot of people aren't putting respect on Edgar Scrivers' name and realizing how tough of a fight this is. But again, like you're saying, Shazab is one of those once-in-a-lifetime talents possibly, and a national hero because of how amazing he has been doing in karate combat. So it's a must-watch fight.
Yeah, he's got the mentality of a champion. He already like you said, Mallory covered it. You guys said he's putting the work in too with the wrestling. So he's doing like everything it takes to win this fight and make an amazing reign and try to get that unification bout, of course, with Rocha and prove that he's the undisputed champion. And you know what? If he goes out there and has an impressive performance over Scrivers, he's well on his way. I mean, Rocha's going to be tuned into this one, baby, and seeing because again, Shazib's just a tough matchup with his size, with his skill for anybody. I mean, coming in. So he's going to be, if he can get through Scrivers, it's going to be so impressive. So I can't wait to see it. For me right now, though, I mean, if I had to pick, if I was going to bet this fight, it would be a dog or pass situation. I think I would, if I was forced to bet this fight, I would leave with Scrivers because, again, he's just one of the best, smartest fighters that I've seen. And I think, it's hard to kind of lay chalk against a guy like him, especially because he kind of burned me in the past with Varga. I underestimated him in that fight. He made the adjustments. He came prepared for that fight, and that just put him on another level, in my opinion, regardless. I know you can look at his resume right now, and he's 6-3. A lot of people might not respect that, but look a little bit deeper, and you're going to see how legit this guy is if you haven't been able to check him out. So love this fight. Love this card. I mean, it should be a good one. And again, it takes place, Friday, I believe. Is it 7 Eastern, if I'm not mistaken? I don't know if it says it on here, but
it does not give us a time, but I think you might be right.
So too, you can check out KarateCombat.com or karate.com, and then you guys can check out and I'm sure the Karate Combat Twitter page and social medias will have the exact time there for you guys as well. But yeah, so man, what a card. So thank you guys for joining me again to cover this card for sure. It's fun. It's always so good to talk about these fights because every fight I feel like we can go on and on about.
So on and so forth. Exactly.
All right. So until next time, enjoy the fights. Let's make some money. Hopefully you guys catch in on the Karate Combat app and all the token holders do well out there. And of course, hopefully you guys head over to cloudbet.com and sign up, register, and bet for real money. Again, with these guys giving their picks and their opinions, I think we're probably gearing you guys on the right track and let's see how it goes. But it should be a fun card, and making money makes it even funner. So get your bets in, and let's cash some tickets. We'll see.